I mean that media is crumbling, our political institutions seem to be crumbling.
Our
academic institutions, so that's the one I really want to get into with you. All of these things are starting to crumble. It's partly because information has changed so much.
I would argue that even worse than crumble, but...
What, you would say they're decimated already?
No, I would argue that the academy, certain sections of the academy, the sciences I think are doing very, very well. Mm-hmm. The humanities are in shambles, certain departments, anything tainted by postmodernism, particularly gender studies. Right.
You wrote a hoax paper with James Lindsay.
Right.
And you got this published.
That we thought was extremely funny.
I mean, I read it. It's jaw-droppingly ridiculous.
Yeah, and it argued for climate change being responsible for the conceptual penis. Yeah, and I thought it was really funny. It was a satire.
Sort of the main takeaway of it is that the penis is not really a real thing. It's just this sort of amorphous idea.
Yeah, and we threw in a lot of moral jargon. We appealed to their moral sensibilities.
Okay, so why, Pete? You're an academic. Why would you write a hoax paper? Why would you mock the very institutions of which you are a member
Because I think that there are departments in the universities that are making a mockery of our institutions. These people are fabricating not only their own knowledge bases, they're writing things in journals that they then cite that becomes knowledge. They're manufacturing ideas that are totally untethered to reality. What these people do is that they have moral intuitions based upon Marxist thought, basically. I'll get to that in a second. So what they do to justify this is they manufacture their own epistemology, their own way to know that justifies the conclusions that they have so that then they can go out and become activists. What I would like to attempt to do in this segment is to link the madness on campuses right now to the intellectual engines driving that madness. Mm-hmm. Make no mistake about it, these departments tainted by postmodernism are absolutely filled with zealots and morally motivated ideologues.
Okay, so
Marxist economics looks at the world in terms of economic oppression. There are oppressor classes, etc. Mm-hmm. So they've taken this idea of these Marxian notions of oppressor classes and looked at them in terms of gender and race and for example, the patriarchy, mm-hmm. and then they have hierarchically prioritized people within that list. So the patriarchy is white, heterosexual, cisgendered, which is a thing, males. Just like religion, they have their own defense mechanisms, and that's what they say. Well, you can't criticize it because you're a cisgendered, white, heterosexual male.
And is the ultimate irony of this that is prejudice. That is prejudging people because I could then sit here and go, wait a minute, Peter Boghossian, a white, straight, cisgendered male, or I can prejudge you based on your immutable characteristics.
Okay, so this is indispensable to talk about. So you are using words based upon normal, ordinary definitions. I'll give you examples some more. It's like, so when you use racism, it's the way I use it. It's the way most people who haven't been indoctrinated by gender studies in the postmodern left. It's the idea that you do not judge people, particularly negatively, but you don't make judgments about people based upon an immutable characteristic like their skin color. But they've changed that definition to make it systemic racism. Mm-hmm. They've changed that definition to put in a power vector, a hierarchical power vector that only flows one way. So for example, in this, blacks cannot be racist against whites. So they have snuck, it's very sneaky, they've taken a normal word, added a moral component to it, and changed the definition of a word. Here's some, if I may give you some more examples, please. Like equality. Equality is a good thing, but they've shifted from equality to equity. Now, what does equity mean? Equity means, well, we need a certain number of people representative of the general population. 17% African Americans, we need to have 17%. But the problem is that they also want to take into account historical discrimination and a kind of reparations for that. So those numbers are even higher. These people have their own lines of literature. These are intellectual cesspools. The whole thing is made up. It's completely fabricated because they want to overthrow these traditional hierarchies. And I think I told you my son has, in his geography, he has geography, civics. I can't remember. I'm looking at stuff. They've never even opened a map. They've never opened a map. They've never in civics class how many Supreme Court justices, legislative branch, how many Senate, none of that stuff. But he knows everything about the Black Panthers. But he knows everything about the civil rights. The civil rights movement is extremely important. Wonderful stuff. But it should not, we need to, I'm looking at a map, kids need to know what country is above Canada. But anyway, all of this stuff gets back to certain departments in the university that are pumping out nonsense, that are indoctrinating people, and exactly like a religion, they have their own defensive structures. They're, being offended is the new thing. Inclusion is another word that they've changed the meaning of. They're pumping out fabricated nonsense that's totally untethered to reality, and the moment you call these people out on it, they don't believe in dialogue in any way.
Yeah.
They'll slander you. They'll write your name on the bathroom wall. They'll scream at you. So the only thing to do is you got to hoax them. You got to have a non-traditional way to deal with people who are so fundamentally irrational. You have privilege, which is a type of original sin. You have blasphemy laws, which are political correctness. If you're privileged, that's it. You're fucked. Like there's no redemption for you.
You can bow down forever.
So there's something about being able to be redeemed that these people don't have. And that's why you see these vitriolic attacks. They're merciless. But make no mistake, this is a secular religion. And when you call out the empress for having no clothes, that is that you have committed, you are in trouble.